A year ago, we tested wine tannin versus tea for tannins. And, well, it's been a year. Let's see, is there any real difference after a year? Simple test, right? We are going to be pseudo-scientific about this.
So Brian has the tannin glasses, I have the tea glasses, and we have them marked on the bottom.
Tan.
So
Hers say tea, mine say
we
tan.
can't see that.
Right.
But I'm going to be pouring the tea. Brian is going to be pouring the tannin.
Oh, this is a grape wine. See, that's how much we looked ahead to know.
Right. Visually, here, let's scoot your bottle closer to
They're
my
like
bottle.
identical.
They're identical. So we're not going to be able to have any visual clues to tell us which is which.
For those of you who don't know what the heck we're talking about, there's a thing called wine tannin. It's a powdered tannin that you can add to your brew, or we have used tea in the past as well, just a straight black tea. Not a flavored tea, not Earl Grey tea, not green tea, not herbal tea, black tea. And I don't care what the brand is, because in the end, they all do the same effect. Don't argue with me. Just
I poured mine, pour yours.
Yeah, I'm working on it. How much did you pour? I gotta pour the same. That much. So what we're doing today is we are testing to see if there's a discernible difference after 1 year of these two ways of adding tannins. Now, for those that don't know what tannins are essentially kind of like mouthfeel. If you've ever had black coffee or black tea and you get that like pucker in your mouth, that's tannins, okay? They add body, they add depth, they add richness to a brew or a drink of any kind. Here, you take one of mine, I take one of yours.
All right.
And now we mixy.
Does it even really matter?
Oh yeah.
We're on, this is tasting number 2, and the first tasting we did.
We finished the bottle.
Because
it was just
It was 13%, so it wasn't too shabby.
Which means she's halfway to being drunk, and I'm not even feeling a thing.
Yeah, I'm good. I honestly I don't know which one is which anymore.
Yeah, we've been talking. I'm just going to keep going.
I reversed. I don't know.
You got a 50-50 shot at knowing. I should probably, the cap's back on. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to do, this is our pseudo or science adjacent test.
We need a piece of paper. We got some right over there by you.
Why do we need a piece of paper?
I don't know, notes, in case we need to take notes.
I plan on saying, this is the tannin, this is the tea. That's it.
All right.
And then we check. It's easy.
Do you have your water? I have my water.
I don't have water. Oh, wait. I do have water. There's some in it. Anything else you need before we start this science adjacent test?
My palate is cleansed.
Now, I'm making a big deal about being science adjacent because I want to make it very clear that one test of two people does not make for absolute in anything.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not absolutely, this is the way to go. It doesn't mean that at all. On this particular brew, on this particular day, with these two particular people, under these particular conditions, we preferred one over the other, or we couldn't tell the difference.
To further that comment, I would highly suggest, if you have the time, availability, and resources, to do this test yourself.
Do it.
With you, your family,
absolutely.
your friends, your neighbors, whomever happens to stop by.
I think this is...
Throw a glass in their face and say, hey, drink this.
I wouldn't throw it.
Well, don't throw it.
I might, present it.
Hello.
Yeah.
Friends.
If you throw it, that could be bad.
That could be bad. You're true.
Okay, this is our sweet red wine. I'm getting zero difference in smell. If you smell your elbow, it clears your sinuses.
And you can't smell your actual elbow. You have to smell the crook of your elbow.
Smell your underarm.
That would just be weird. Don't do that.
You could do it. I don't know how helpful it would be, but...
I know we look silly and ridiculous, but there's science to this. We actually researched this.
Okay, I am just smelling Concord grape, which okay, someone said tasting like Manischewitz is not a good thing. I want to disagree with them. I actually really like Concord grape wine. I just do. To me, it feels very home, safe, simple,
if you're
rustic.
Looking for something complex, mature, and elevated, then sure, Manischewitz might not be the drink of your choice. But if you're just looking for something with the adjectives that Brian just said, Manischewitz isn't that bad.
You pair that up with some spaghetti and a red sauce, and not much is better.
We're going to get hate regardless, and sure, but...
Okay, we get hate no matter what we say. I could say the sky is blue, and somebody would argue with me.
Take a moment. Remove those preconceived notions out of your head. Just take them, take your wand, take those little sparkly bits and put them in the bin for later use. And drink some and say, hey, this isn't that bad. All right? That's all we're asking.
Okay. I said there was no difference in smell. However, this one...
This is like a Beetlejuice moment.
Yeah, what the heck? This one does seem a little bit lighter in aroma. I don't know if that's really a factor, but it does seem to have less aroma coming through. Maybe I didn't swirl right. Got to do the ambidextrous swirl.
All right, so this one feels more musty almost.
Oh, musty, okay.
And this one feels more fruity.
So, yes, my lighter aroma one is more fruity.
But it's ever so slight, and I'm like full on deep inhale.
You got to put your schnoz way in there, get the fumes going.
It probably doesn't look appropriate for you that are watching. And if that's the case, I apologize.
If I was to taste or smell one of these and wait even 10 seconds and smell the other, I probably wouldn't feel a difference.
Nope.
It's that slight.
Grape.
All right. Are you ready to taste?
I need more water, I think.
You think of this now?
I took some water.
Oh, that way. Okay.
And then I need more water.
I just left mine in front of me because I figured I might need it. So, I know the idea is that you should wash your mouth out in between. I'm going to not do that because I feel that that's too much separation at this point. I really want to just try one and try the other and see if there's a difference.
So this is my musty, this is my fruity. All right. I'm going to try fruity first.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to try some water in between because I didn't really detect much difference.
Brian's done both. I've done one.
For one, these are both dry.
Yeah.
On purpose, probably to accentuate differences more. Sweetness tends to gloss over, hide things. Okay, I'm going to do this one first this time.
People have criticized that my expressions mean I don't like it. And I feel that those people just haven't been able to interpret correctly.
You have to understand
my
the
expressions. My expressions are complicated and vast.
And many.
And many. The one eyebrow pucker face does not mean I don't like it. It means I'm thinking really hard about it.
And you probably figured out that me looking off into the distance, that's the brain thinking. I'm trying not to look at anything because I see you as a person. So I am talking to a person when I'm looking at the camera. When I'm looking away, I'm speaking or thinking abstractly and in general.
Let me get my thoughts together so that I can bring them back to you.
Yeah, I know that's weird because it's a camera, not a person, but you're behind that, and I know this.
Yeah, I think we both kind of instilled that into us that we're not talking to an inanimate object. We're talking to a person. That person is...
And not even that. We're not talking to an audience. We're not talking to 180,000 people. We're talking to you.
A specific person.
And that's important. You, as in we want to connect with you personally.
Yeah. All right, so I waited way too long between my two tastes.
It makes it invalid.
But I don't have any intellectual difference between those two tastes. My intellectual synopsis of what those two tastes were are identical at this point in time. Mm-hmm. So now, do we need crackers too? I don't know.
Only if you're getting drunk.
I don't think I'm there yet, but...
Okay. Here's the thing. I am detecting a distinct difference. The one on the right is a little minutely more full-bodied and fruity. The one on the left is a little thinner.
Which one of yours is the the fruity versus the dry, but
this
the
is
smell.
this is fruity on the smell, and it's more fruit
Is that
on the
one
flavor.
more musty?
I don't know that I'd say musty.
Okay.
You're saying musty.
I'm saying musty. You have a different word.
I just got it as a slightly stronger smell.
All right.
This one had less smell. This one had more smell, but this one smelled fruitier.
All right. So our perception is arranged the same. Whether those are the same, we have no idea.
But on the taste, you're saying you get no discernible difference. I do. It's not a spectacular difference. I had to go back and
How many tastes have you done?
4 or 5 easily.
I've done one. Okay. So let's just be honest there.
I'm just saying I had to do that many to really determine. I'm going to do another one.
I feel that my fruity one is slightly more acidic than my musty one. But very minute.
See, I don't see an acidity difference. I get a viscosity, and it's not viscosity.
And that's what we should be looking for.
I said the wrong word.
Based on tannins,
it's
right?
not viscosity. It's filling your mouth. Mouthfeel. I hate the word mouthfeel. That's why I say filling your mouth. Viscosity means it feels thick and rich and coating. Mouthfeel, we'll just define it here, is kind of like if your mouth was a very rough surface, how quickly does it flow over it? Does that make sense? Like pouring something over a smooth surface versus over sandpaper. That's mouthfeel to me. Does it have like some grit to it? Does it feel different? It's hard to describe.
I'm not getting any textural.
We are talking so minor. This one is ever so slightly more watery than that one. And that's really about it. I get a little more fruity flavor from this one than I do from this one. I don't.
Mouthfeel wise, for me, I'm not getting any difference whatsoever.
But I will say something right now.
I wish they were both sweeter.
Well, yeah, but that would cover up the difference.
Sure.
But let me just explain something right here. The fact that we are having so much trouble telling the difference between these two means adding a cup of tea versus using wine tannin, there's virtually no difference.
Yeah.
You're not going to discern it.
You're
not going to ruin your brew, okay? It's not going to happen. Is one better? That's the question. I can't say that either one of these is better. They each have their attributes. And I don't know which one is which. I'm not saying, oh, well, this is definitely the... I honestly don't know. I want to think, just because, okay, using something made just for that purpose should make a better product. I want to think that this one may be the wine tannin, and this one may be the tea.
I have come to that same conclusion, but only because of the musty that I used as a word versus the fruity. And so I'm thinking that the musty could be the dried tea leaves creating that sensation. As far as the tannic properties and what tannin is supposed to bring to the party.
There's no difference. See, my thought is this one tastes more fruity. This one tastes a little less so because this one's the tea and it was slightly diluted. There's less fruitiness in this one because of tea versus adding straight wine tannin. It's a theory, okay? I mean, do I actually know? Hell no, I don't know. But I love stuff like this though.
Honestly, it's so close. I would not be surprised at all
if we were both wrong.
If we were like opposite.
Yeah, we could both be wrong.
Even though we had the same sensations.
Though I seem to remember when we did this test initially, there was almost no discernible difference. We had a really tough time even seeing a difference. And then guessing which was which, it was literally a guess. You got a 50-50 shot.
So my T1 came at 8.6% ABV.
My tannin one came out at 8.6% ABV.
Okay.
So they are identical ABV.
All right. Well, that was helpful.
Which is low. It's not a high ABV, which I don't know how much of a factor that would be.
Sure.
But,
But I'm not getting any sensation.
I'd also like to point out, just straight up screw-on caps, and they lasted a year.
No
issues.
vinegarization whatsoever.
They're not oxidized, nothing. This is only 8.6%. This is barely wine.
Yeah.
Not barley wine, barley wine.
Barely. So just think about that for a moment.
All right.
And relax.
Did you just tell them to relax?
I told them to relax.
Why
because, okay.
But they're not the problem.
You're not
it's
the problem.
The other guy that's the problem.
It's the other person to your left or right or in the next neighborhood or block or
It's
universe.
so many miles away that's the problem. It's not you. Trust me. You're good. Don't listen to her.
I'm sorry. I retract my statement.
I'm trying every way I can to see any difference.
Yeah, it's like...
Okay, when I mean, this is reaching so hard. Slightly more fruity.
Yep.
Slightly more, I don't even want to say watery. It's not watery. See, musty to me is a negative thing, so I'm not getting musty. It doesn't smell like mold or mildew.
No, it's just...
But that's what musty is.
Okay, fine.
I'm not getting any of that.
This is my sad face.
We have to make a choice. You have to choose one so that we can tell them how wrong we are. And this is one of those things like, please do not walk away from this judging us that we couldn't tell which was which, because do the test yourself and tell me if you can actually tell. This is why our channel exists, is because for years, brewers have been told, you have to use this, you have to use that, you have to use...
No, you don't.
Not necessarily. I don't, in some cases, I agree. In the wine tannin versus tea, I have already kind of given up that you can do it either way. We use wine tannin powder because it's simple. It's really simple. You take a teaspoon, you dump it in, you're done.
And you can put it in after the fact.
Yeah, I don't have to think about how long was my tea steeping. Did I remember? Because here's the thing. If I was making it just for us, I'd probably use tea. Okay. But we are recording it. So we have cameras and recorders and all sorts of other things going on. So the timing makes it more difficult.
Most importantly, an obligation to you.
Yeah. So we want to give you the best information we can. And that's why I always say you can add wine tannin or you can add a cup of tea.
Right.
But when you do the cup of tea, this is important. Don't oversteep it.
No.
That'll make it worse. You want to be as precise as you can every time. Use the same amount of water. I suggest 4 ounces of water, not 6 or 8. And 1 black tea bag, 5 minutes. That's it. And anybody that says, oh, that's too strong. No, the strength comes from time and dilution. Okay, so you're going to be pouring that into a gallon. I say 4 ounces because that way it's diluting the brew less. Take 4 ounces of water out of your total and use that. If you want to use 8 ounces, that's fine too. The trick is 4 ounces of water is going to cool off faster over that 5 minutes than 8 ounces. So realistically, if you want to use 16 or 20 ounces, go for it.
Sure.
Just do it the same way every time.
But take your temperature before adding your yeast.
Yes.
See?
And consistency will set you free.
Everything comes into play. It's all connected. Everything's connected.
Whatever way you choose to do it, just make sure you do it the same way every time, so you get the same amount of tannins each time.
All right, the tannins. I'm not sensing a difference in the tannins and what I anticipate a tannin should be bringing to the party.
This, I think, is wine tannin. This, I think, is the tea.
I believe this is tea and this is tannin. Wine tannin.
Okay,
right.
So we're both saying the same things left and right.
We're probably wrong.
Nope. I was right.
Tannin and tea. Really? Your left is tannin and your right is tea?
No, my right is tannin.
Oh my God, we're like opposite.
I said this was tannin and this was tea. So I got it right. She got it wrong.
I got it wrong, but we have the same flavor profiles on the opposite brews.
Yep. Which tells you just how close they really are. I mean, you saw, we had to go back and forth, and we're tasting, and we're...
This is ridiculous. This is so
They are
silly.
99.9% the same. The thing is, okay, and I'm going to sound like I'm kind of rationalizing here, and maybe a little bit, but the truth of this is, when you know that they're different things, your brain is going to say, you have to find a difference.
You have to find a difference.
So you will invent things that may not even be there.
That aren't there.
I'm not saying I was right. I'm saying I had a 50-50 shot. It could have been the other way too. In reality, if we were to do this test again, I could be wrong. I would say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, using wine tannin powder, the one that we use, that's important too, versus a black tea, which could be any of the English brands that we like, which is several, because I don't remember which one we use, and I'm not telling you even if I knew. It makes no difference. There's virtually no difference.
This is just crazy to me. The one that I thought was more fruity was tea. The one you thought was more fruity was tannin.
Yeah. You know what we got to do now? Give me your glasses, both of them.
Everything goes into one.
Everything into one.
I don't even know how that makes any sense at all, but okay.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. It's the Franken.
It's not Franken. This is perfect now.
This is perfect. Perfection. Well,
honestly, dry Concord wine is actually...
You're right. We didn't need notes.
We're science adjacent. You know, it's funny. We try not to be too sciencey, but at the same time, we want to be accurate.
And I'm going to be the counter idea to that. We actually try to be very sciencey because science is part of this process. Okay. Regardless of whether you want to acknowledge it or not, science is part of this process. We have biology, we have chemistry, we have so many things incorporated in here that makes this process work.
But before you say that, there's so much to science. And much of what we do ends in tasting, which is not scientific.
It is not.
Therefore,
it is not.
I don't like to say that we are pure science.
Okay, fair enough. Tastings are 100 and 1,000%.
And this leads to my statement.
Subjective.
You can be the absolute most perfect science all along. Everything about it is absolutely spectacular, on point, and it tastes like crap. Who cares?
Why? Because you didn't like it that way.
But if you make something and you use no science and you just did it all kinds of wrong and it tastes awesome.
Woo! Go team.
You win. As long as nobody dies or gets poisoned. Which is, okay, I just want to say, it's really, really hard to do with homebrew. That's virtually impossible to actually do. Especially if it tastes good. If it tastes good, there's about no way that you made anything dangerous. Unless you added like isopropyl alcohol.
Don't do that.
Don't add those.
Poisons to your brew, please. Thank you. Which is kind of an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Since alcohol itself is a poison.
Yeah, you know what I mean, though. But the science thing, I believe in science. I think it's good. We did not prove anything here today. Other than, in this situation, given all the conditions, there was virtually no difference.
Right.
Your situation may be different. You might be doing something that actually shows a difference between these two.
Oh, sure.
And in that case, that's totally cool.
Because
if you do, I actually want to know, because that way I understand where the differences start to shine.
Right. We used our comparison on a very neutral base wine situation.
Yeah, just a straight up wine.
Now, if we had a more exotic honey combination, there might have been more varied...
Indeed, it might be different.
Results, because the compounds of the different chemicals with those particulates in the honey may be exaggerated, and so you'll be like, oh, this is totally different than this one. Whereas if we use like our pomegranate chocolate combination,
it might be very different.
The compounds of the pomegranate and the chocolate may have enhanced
there's a million factors involved, and that's why whenever I hear somebody say that this was the definitive test of this and they did one test.
No, it's not.
That doesn't mean anything.
I'm sorry.
Even if you ask 20 people what they think of something, if they're all different, that's not definitive. There's no real.
And this is where I go back to the science, is that chemistry, biology, all these things are part of the greater scope of sciences, and those are going to play a role in each brew that you try to create.
Yeah. Yep. So we've changed over the years. We've added a few things.
We're constantly reevaluating. We're constantly retesting.
Yeah, you have no idea.
We're constantly trying out new things to perfect.
Can you talk about full circle?
Yes.
I am famous for something in this house and among very close friends. It's called going full circle. And what I mean by that is, by the way, I have that stupid mustache hair again.
Oh, no.
There's one that goes back. I'm shaving this shit off.
No, you're not, because you hate that. He looks like a baby.
Anyway.
He's a baby.
I look young. You're robbing the cradle. Anyway, my idea of going full circle is this. We do things in X way. I look at that and I say, all right, how can this be fixed?
If I do this.
And I try this step.
This.
Nah, that didn't work. And I go there, and I go here, 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 and I go here. And before you know it, I'm like, wow, what we were doing in the first place was actually the right thing to do. That, you would think it's bad, except for one thing. It's confirmation that I made a good choice, or we made a good choice a while back. And I do this for like all sorts of things, between cooking, brewing, the camera gear, the way we film, the editing styles, all these things. I do the full circle effect, like all the time. I have spent, like, what'll happen? I'll wake up on a Saturday and I don't have anything to do.
I'm like, what are you doing?
I will spend the entire day researching this thing.
What are you doing?
And then just before dinner go, we were doing it right already.
All right, so our synopsis of the comparison between tea and wine tannin is that in this particular scenario, there was hardly any difference at all. But if you take anything away from this test, and I hope you do, you realize that in your particular situation, in your particular brew, whatever you're doing, there may or may not be a difference between these two. So if you have one more readily available to you, use that one. If you have another, then use that one. If you're not sure, use both and do the test yourself.
My summary would be something like what she said. It's more down to, if you're comfortable using wine tannin, it's more convenient. If you're more comfortable using tea, use that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think you're going to see much difference at all. So do what makes you happy. And that's the secret to homebrewing, is do what makes you happy. As long as you're not hurting anybody in the process, you're doing it right. If you make something that you like, nobody gets sick, and your friends go, wow, this is amazing, you've done it right. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.